There's no toy line too big or too small to have no prototypes slip through the cracks on their way to the production line. In this episode on Unproduced Toys, we dig through the archives of toy lines and toy concepts, uncovering what could have been your favorite toy back in the day. So be sure to subscribe for more 80s and 90s toy content, and let's strap in for some toy history. It was the 90s, neon colors were everywhere, slipping into color schemes for toy lines and even on the hair of your troll action figures. Yeah, every decade seems to have had their own troll craze. Ever since Danish woodcutter Thomas Dam came up with the Dam doll or Good Luck doll. In the 90s, Russ Berry was making trolls left and right for girls, but the boys needed their hairy fix as well, and the answer came with Ace Novelty's Stone Protectors, Tycho's Troll Warriors, and even Motu-styled knockoffs with a disproportionate head came thrilling through the market, with Troll Force by Toys and Things. Then in 1992 there was Hasbro's contribution to the action figure troll craze in the form of Battle Trolls. The original Battle Trolls were big-haired dudes with bad attitudes retailing for $5 to $7, and they were quite big action figures even for the time, standing 4 1/4 inch tall without including their 4 extra inches of hair. There was no cartoon, but the card art told you what to do. Keep them in a dark, smelly place so they'll remain cranky and mean to fight at all times. All of the trolls were styled differently and had their own sculpt, combining the original troll concept with characters from pop culture or action-adventure themes like Vikings, pirates, but also sports-themed trolls and monsters. They came with weapons and had some crazy, horrific detailing that would easily make up for the 1 point of articulation around the waist. The line could have probably kept going for years with this concept, but failed to match the success the original troll dolls were enjoying. So, in 1993, they retired the line after the third wave, but neglected and tucked away at New York's Toy Fair. Wave 4 was glooming from their smelly display as the prototypes for their final wave creeped up. The metal heads seemed to be color variants of existing trolls, but the 6 prototype strong subline they called the Evil Horde, yeah, the Evil Horde was sure something else. The lineup consisted of trolls styled as DC Comics Joker, an Executioner complete with hood, a gruesome orange Swamp Thing like being a futuristic hero, kinda reminds me of X-Men with those colors, the too cool military troll sporting short sleeves, and a freaking alien xenomorph, because in Trollland, no one will hear you scream after he beats you with that Morning Star. A solid lineup of new excitingly gross action figures, and even a Megatroll crawled up from under the woodworks. I would have expected bigger hair for this one, and did this one come out? There's nothing to be found on this guy. Perhaps it could have been part of a special set like the Trollosaurus. Apart from not bringing in the sales, the toy line might have been a bit too ahead of its time. Where Troll Warriors were still cute, Battle Trolls were straight up gross, and a sculpt like the Xenomorph would have definitely caused parents to return your new favorite toy to the shelf in 1994. Aliens have always had a tough time getting to the store shelves, and even when they got there, they usually couldn't stay too long. That was until Kenner's Aliens line, based on the second movie, but more so on a cartoon show that sadly never aired. We would see the Space Marines in toy form battling it out with all sorts of xenomorph variations, some of the coolest sculpts made by Kenner ever. No idea was too weird, and the mixture of bright translucent colors with the shadow-like black made them pop out in any kid's toy collection, if mom would allow you to get one. A first unproduced piece came from the very beginning, a mixture of a kid-bashed superpowers Brainiac and a scaled-down original Kenner 79 head sculpt would turn into the first Alien Queen concept. The final result would look completely different, but then again the scale wasn't determined yet. During the years the lineup was in production, one Alien concept failed to stay contained and therefore didn't make it into production. The three-headed alien is, well, an alien with two heads too many if you ask any Space Marine. Some thought it was a rejected King alien sculpt, but we've seen this alien type before in Alien franchise merch like puzzles, posters, and the Operation Aliens artwork. Most likely an action feature would have been added to the toy, but none are visible on this greenish hard copy with golden details. The Aliens toy line would continue to expand and even get some Predator friends, but in the meanwhile, in a galaxy far away, long ago, somewhat around the mid-80s, but somehow, in the future, we had some other space creatures to worry about. More specific, on the forest moon of Endor, the Ewoks' home planet, as we can see in the cartoon, where we go back to a time when Ewoks still spoke English and before the events of A New Hope took place. We all learned about the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, but now you could learn even more about them and the other species and villains on Endor. Through the series, the story unfolds of the Ewoks' struggles with the adversarial Dulocs. The main Star Wars toy line had its fair share of the Ewoks, with nice fur sculpted details, and surely like the cartoon there was no Ewok left behind in this toy line. Or was there? At least 6 of the 1986 announced Ewoks action figures never got produced. The second series characters like Bondo, the jovial chieftain of the nomadic Jinda tribe, Weechi, Wicket's older brother who's short-tempered and bossy, Morag, an evil powerful Tolga witch whose magical powers rival Lograze, Chief Chirpa, the wise and brave leader of the Ewok village, and Paplu, a brave and boastful Ewok adventurer. All were supplied with the Kenner's basic 5 points of articulation and some accessories. The Ewoks cartoon ran for 2 seasons from 1985 to 86, starting as part of the Adventure Hour alongside Droids, its sister series. Where Droids ended after 1 season, Ewoks kept the cuddly bear shenanigans going with the all-new Ewok show. Droids had their own toy line as well, expanding on the adventures of R2-D2 and C-3PO between the events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. We met a lot of droids on screen and saw them translated to a toy line, but it also had its fair share of unproduced toys from its own second series. And Vlix was a toy considered to have been cancelled along with the line, but somehow got a short release run in Brazil by Glasslight, making it one of the scarcer Star Wars toys to have officially been released. At the time, Star Wars had 3 lines out on the shelves. The most successful line post-Star Wars movies was The Power of the Force, and with the cartoon being part of the Ewoks and Droids Adventure Hour, it seemed to be more targeted at younger Star Wars fans. They positioned them at preschoolers, so the 2 lines based on these cartoons didn't do too well, and due to poor sales, it got cancelled. And don't some of these Ewoks toys remind you of Disney's Gummy Bears? And then we get to 1988 when there were cowboys in space. The year was 1988 when Mattel's Masters of the Universe line was running its final stretch, shipping off their last toy concepts to Europe and other parts of the world where there was still interest in the line. For the boys' toy market, it seemed that swords and sorcery in space had run its course. But what about the next big thing? Cowboys and Indians in space with Bravestarr, an American Western, and the last cartoon to be created by Filmation Studios, who had brought us Ghostbusters and He-Man before. While some characters were in the works since 1984, the 87 cartoon is mainly based and designed to sell the toys that Mattel had brought on the toy market a year earlier. You could get all the heroes and villains from the planet of New Texas in their quest to acquire Carrion. Bravestar's main hero, Marshall Bravestarr, was fortunate to be in the first wave of toys that came in these deluxe boxes and with loads of extra accessories. But in the 88 catalog, they seem to have had a lot more planned, like Law, enforcement officer Long Arm John with his sophisticated prosthetic arm. Could it get any more toyetic? He came with a telescope punch action feature. When bandits attack, he strikes back with his fearsome double punch, which is activated by the button on the back of the action figure. It's a shame this space cowboy trend never took off, because the bad guys are even cooler and often bulkier toys. Two-Faced Dingo Dan was more in line with the good guy characters, but didn't make it into production. He is the henchman for one of our main villains, Tex-Hex, the leader of the Carrion Bunch. The dingo in question was voiced in the cartoon with an Aussie accent, and his special ability was the power to take on a human appearance, although his hat would often just give away the disguise. The action figure had the same feature, and the option could be operated by a button on the back. As you pressed it, you could see Dingo Dan twist his head to showcase his human appearance. And of course, it came with the hat and some accessories. And obviously, the female character didn't get a release either. More so, they had already given up on selling her in the European toy catalog, as she didn't even get a description. Judge J.B. McBride was a main character as Fort Carrium's judge, lawyer, and Bravestarr's ally. On this wild Space West, her gavel got an electronic upgrade, and the Hammer of Justice was the action feature she would have set herself apart with from the other toys in the toy line. The hammer could be pulled from her hand as a cord came out, and she could swing it around as a lasso, bringing outlaws to justice. Her mainly chrome silver armored outfit colors could have been better though, and more in line with the cartoon. In the end, it has always been tough getting a female character released for an action figure toy line targeted to boys, no matter how much of a pivotal role she played in the cartoon. And for Transformers, it was definitely not different. Then again, how do you check if an Autobot is a girl or a guy? Do you check under the hood? Or it would take RC, the female Transformer, years to finally get her own action figure. You really mean to tell me that the Kara didn't have a Diaclone or Microman car robot concept left to just color white and pink? Well, she was in the works a couple times, but they never quite got her to the factory. Early designs show that they were working on getting this Transformer on shelves for the girls that watched the Transformers movie. RC played a big part in the film, but even with requests internally at Hasbro, they were still reluctant to release a female Autobot. She continued to be seen in the cartoon series and even the Headmaster's cartoon. A first toy concept was created for the 1986 lineup, but never got past prototype stage. This one was based on the character's animation model for the movie. Then there was also a Headmaster concept that surfaced, and even as a repaint of a G1 Chrome Dome, they didn't pull the trigger on letting it go into production. Then again, in the G1 era, repaints weren't too common. BotCon also attempted to create an RC action figure inspired by the Action Master series, but apparently the cost of tooling would have been quite high, so no RC exclusive was made for BotCon 1996 by Men in Black Collectibles. But fortunate enough for fans, starting from the 2000s, we would get a couple of RCs to join Transformers collections all over the world. So any unproduced action figures that I missed, perhaps I already spoke about them and covered them in a previous episode of Toy History, but be sure to leave them down in the comments below. And for free, you can also just subscribe to the channel for more 80s and 90s content, and be sure to hit the notification bell so you get notified on those weekly toy videos. Leaving a like on the video always helps as well, and I would like to do a big shout out to Jonathan and Randa for joining the Patreon, and of course a big shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. It sure was a fun horse ride through toy history, from Endor all the way to New Texas. From gross trolls to gorgeous xenomorphs, I want to thank you guys all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!